The Fallout show dropped like an atomic bomb on Prime last week, and this is a really mixed bag for me. It's a really fun show, but I don't know how it's going to hold up long term. I played Fallout 3 way back when it came out. I put maybe 10, 15 hours into it, didn't play again. So I can't comment on it too much as an adaptation, other than it seems like it got the style down and the whole vibe. You know, the costumes, the vault, the look, the wastelands. But as far as the deep lore, I just don't know. So the show definitely does a lot of things right. It's really fun. It's got that crazy 50s aesthetic with the cyberpunk futuristic theme and technologies. For me, Ella Purnell as Lucy and Walton Goggins as the ghoul really carried the show. Maximus I thought was all over the place as a character, kind of annoying, kind of dumb, kind of a dick, and things just seem to work out for him. I think this show is benefiting greatly right now from being an adaptation and being at least fun and decent when it doesn't really seem like there's much else out, and certainly not in the sci-fi dystopian genre. So for the stuff that I like, I really enjoyed Lucy's arc. I thought that she played the naive, doe-eyed, pun intended, innocent girl, fish out of water thing very well. And I enjoyed her arc of just slowly becoming a little bit more and more jaded, but it didn't change who she was at the core. And I thought that was really well handled over the course of the show. Walton Goggins is always good. Although in this, he's essentially playing Red Boyd Crowder. If you don't know who Boyd Crowder is, go watch Justified. Don't watch Primeval. But the original Justified series is really good. Him and Timothy Oliphant are both great in it. I like the way that they used him to show the pre and post atomic bomb eras. And I really liked how they tied them together and all the twists and turns near the end of the season. I actually liked Norm also, who was Lucy's brother. I liked his cynical nature and his curiosity. I enjoyed the path that he took and the fact that he was the only one who was like, fuck the Raiders. You guys are being very babe in the woods about this. I enjoyed the twist with Vault 31 and the way they connected it to the past and present. And the twist itself is pretty cool. I thought the execution was atrocious. Like the whole brain just letting him walk into the vault, even though he wasn't Betty. And the whole stupidity with the brain being like, oh, please don't do these steps to find out exactly what's going on. Oh, you're going to do them. And kind of telling him what to do so we can all see the twist. I thought that was just asinine. Maximus is just a weird character for me. It seems like they had a decent overall idea for what they wanted him to be, but then they let a different writer handle each part of his arc each episode. I doubt they did that, but that's how it felt. Like the first episode, he feels kind of beaten up and like he looks up to the Brotherhood and he wants to be a knight. And the second episode, he's kind of an asshole and betrays them. And then as he goes on, he just sort of keeps being an idiot, but then it works out. Like he lets Thaddeus somehow get behind him and stick a key in him to rip his fusion core out, which I don't even understand that design for the suits. Maybe that's in the games as a mechanic, I don't know. But I thought that was just really dumb in every capacity. And then very luckily for him, Lucy just showed up so he didn't dehydrate to death in there. And then he had the part where he was kind of enjoying the vault, and then he was like, oh, I need to go save Lucy. Even at the end, he betrays the Brotherhood again, but then they're praising him at the very end. Hopefully they'll address that next season. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of awkward that they think that he betrayed him in the first episode, and then he definitely did at the end of the season with the fake head. I don't know how they could have any trust in him, but it seems like they're going to make him a knight, and I guess we'll see. But I think they nailed the aesthetic. I thought the vault was cool. I thought they did a really good job of the people in the vault behaved very differently from the people on the surface, who even then behaved very differently from the ghouls. And then obviously you have the way that Walton Goggins behaved before and after the atomic bombs fell. I thought even his arc was okay, that he sort of became more human as the season went on. Like he likes the dog and he seems to get along with Lucy. And we find out that his priority is his family. I hope they explain that whole thing because they showed that clip at the very beginning and he's with his daughter when the bombs fall. And then we get the line from him at the end where he's like, where the fuck is my family? So I hope they go more into that backstory and what happened. And I don't want to go too much on the issues, but there's just a lot of very convenient things that happen. Like I have no idea what the scale of this place they're in is because it seems like Lucy, Cooper, and Maximus just walk into each other whenever they need to. And since I'm not doing episode by episode breakdown, I'll just give a few examples of stuff that I thought was just stupid. So like episode 1, the whole way that they say that they have a triennial meeting with Vault 32, presumably they would recognize some of the people, or at least how they behave generally, and they don't realize they're a bunch of raiders. And then the raiders, instead of letting everyone go to sleep and then just killing them, act like maniacs during dinner. So it ends up in this huge clusterfuck of a fight. I thought the way that the fight between Lucy and her raider husband handled was really dumb. He kind of did the stereotypical villain thing where he just throws her all over the room. And even after he stabbed her, obviously he's much bigger than her, he still lets her kick him in the balls and escape. And just the logistics of it are really questionable. And then you have the whole situation where Moldover is like, you can pick these people or your daughter, but they have all the guns and a bomb. Like, wouldn't the simpler choice just to be like, come with us or we're going to kill them all? There's no need to let him choose, and then none of them actually die anyway because they just let him run away. He could easily have been like, okay, let them go back to the vault and I'll come with you. Or they could be like, come with us and we'll just let them go. Either way. And then, like I said, you have this stuff where you can't really tell the scale of the world because they just keep running into each other. Like, obviously, Lucy runs into Max right after his suit's been deactivated, which is also the same time that she happens to pass out from radiation poisoning, which luckily he has the medicine for. I know that she's chasing the head with a tracer, but still, she happened to take that exact path. You know, the ghoul finds the dog in the little container thing. Again, just happened to be in the same place. So there's just a lot of that kind of stuff. I didn't pay too much attention to it because I was just enjoying the show. But I feel like this is one of those shows, if you go back and really watch and like look for the logic in it, there's going to be issues. Another one is the fact that they had a big fat guy in the vault. He was one of the ones running for overseer. Like, if they're regulating sex and sex partners and breeding and wanting to know sperm count, I bet they're regulating fucking calories. And you have some stuff where the ghoul just seems kind of overpowered and plot armor protected. Like, he gets shot a couple times and just walks it off. But then we see ghouls later just get shot and die. All those sorts of things that didn't need to happen and create issues, but they did. And like, the Brotherhood of Knights are supposed to be kind of this oppressive force keeping peace in the wasteland. And they seem to function loosely like some kind of Templar-inspired unit. But they just seem pretty incompetent overall. Like, we see Titus, who's a giant pussy, gets killed by a bear, and his squire just lets him die. We see a bunch of them get shot in the dark by the ghoul. They don't have flashlights, apparently. They don't fight back. They just get their ass kicked. And they just kind of seem like dicks overall. Like, I guess they're going to be the antagonists, but we don't really know anything about them from the show, unless I just missed it. The only thing they really said was they want to keep peace in the wastelands, and then we kind of don't touch on them again. And these are people who are living their entire lives under the Brotherhood, presumably. At least that's what we see from Maximus. He was taken as a kid, and even he was kind of an idiot. Like, he didn't know the answers in class. He didn't know how the suit worked. He betrayed his knight when he was a squire. So yeah, just not a very good look for the Brotherhood, and they made them pretty incompetent. And then they made some weird choices too, just from a story perspective. So at the first episode, we get the intro in the present time, see the bombs fall, boom, fallout, 200 years later, we're in the vault. So they do this whole thing where, you know, they're in the vault and the raiders. Oh, that's another thing too, is the fact that they wouldn't have detected the raiders is really stupid because they all have their little bracelets on all the time. And they should have realized that they recognized no one from the vault. Anyway, they do the whole thing where they build up the vault, and you don't know what the outside world looks like at this point as the audience. So you think, okay, like, we're going to go through the whole vault thing, and then when she escapes, we're going to see what's going on the surface. And instead, just partway through the vault story, they cut to the other stories. So then later on, when Lucy gets out and escapes the vault, you know, they do the big swelling music and the sunlight's blocking your vision, and then we get the big wide panning shot of the scenery. It's like, yeah, we know. Like, we were just here 5 minutes ago. So that kind of stuff I just thought was a weird choice because, you know, you want the big reveal. Like, this is kind of something that Halo screwed up too. I don't want to go off on a tangent about Halo, but they're both video game adaptations, so I'll use that excuse. But Halo, they show Jimmy Rings and his girlfriend on the Halo ring in a vision. So then when you see the Halo ring for the first time at the end of season 2 from space, that feeling of like, oh, this is it, is totally lost because you've already been there. It's just a decision I don't really understand. And the last thing I want to mention is culture war shit, because that's my least favorite. And I'm not going to go long about this. I've seen people really latching on to the line about communist is just what they call someone who's right but not crazy, or to make them seem crazy. And a lot of people were like, oh, Fallout's super left wing. Maybe it is. I mean, I've seen a lot of people say that it satirizes capitalism. And I don't have a problem with anything being satirized, capitalism, whatever. I think people mainly get fed up with it because obviously in Hollywood it all goes one way. If their goal was to portray communism as good, I feel like they did a poor job. Like, the show starts out with the Raiders being the communists, and it ends with all the communists being killed. And they also had a pretty funny line from Cooper, where he says something along the lines of, I'm sure there's a lot of financial incentive to pushing an ideology that creates breadlines, which, history and all that. And then there's also just the idea of Amazon, of all companies, having a pro-communist show, which is just hilarious. I'm not saying that they didn't, but it's just dripping with irony. And I think what the show communicated, intentionally or not, really seemed to be a message that was more critical of corporatism, because they have a line in the past timeline where Cooper's talking to his friend at the party, and he's talking about what happens when the farmers have more power than the deputy. And then he compares it to Vault-Tec having more power than the government. And I think that's a message that probably most people agree with. I think the differences come in on what corporations do you go after. And this is the last thing I'll say about it, because I hate the culture war shit. But broadly speaking, right-wingers tend to hate big tech, for example. Left-wingers tend to hate big oil or big pharma, whatever. I think generally speaking, no one likes corporations overpowering the government. It just becomes more of an issue of what your group or your tribe allows you to focus on. And the last thing I'll say is this show has what everything does now. Clearly they have racially driven quotas and stuff and gender driven quotas. Doesn't affect the plot. I don't care. Just one of those things that you notice and go, yeah, that's Hollywood. So overall, definitely enjoyed the show. I just think as time goes on, people are going to look back on it and be like, oh, maybe it wasn't as good as I remember. Because I think it's very easy to get caught up in, oh, they're adapting this video game that I love. And they did nail the aesthetics and the music and all that. And then also when you can compare this side by side to the Halo show, which just ended, or any other piss poor adaptation that's come out, it's like, yeah, nailed it. And then there's also just the whole social media cultural momentum where everyone gets sucked into it and they're like, yeah, Fallout's awesome. And all that kind of fades away. You see it happen all the time. I mean, pick a Marvel movie in the last 5 years. That's probably been most people's reaction to it. I'm not criticizing or blaming anyone for it. I think it's natural to have that response. But I do think that's what's going to happen over time. It is interesting seeing the debates between the hardcore lore people. Because from what I can gather, the original lore got kind of drifted away from or retconned and then made into lesser quality. But that's just what it seems like people are saying online. Some people are saying it fits. Some people are saying it doesn't. Don't know. I'll let them argue. So if you watch the show, let me know what you think. I don't give number ratings. I'll just say that I think it was a very fun show. It was average to good. There's definitely plenty of good stuff in there to enjoy. It didn't spit in the face of the fans or take a dump on their head like Paramount did to Halo. Just Vince McMahon style shit right on their heads. So on that brown note, I'm going to end this one. If you see the join button below, that's for memberships. Feel free to join. I let people pick stuff for me to review once a month if you're interested. If you don't want to join, no big deal. I don't expect you to. But if you're still here, so let me know what you thought. I try to respond to all the comments, like and subscribe and all that. Thanks. See ya.